Hello, I'm Beverley Dean and welcome to my talk. I'm going to talk to you about special iApps. This workshop's aimed at people who are familiar with our apps, and I'm going to touch on more than just the basics. We've only got 20 minutes, so there will be more information on our website if you want to follow up, or you can contact me direct. During the workshop, I'm going to talk a little bit about ourselves and our organisation, how our apps can be personalised for learning, creating templates, which actually saves you time, which you can modify to suit the level of your child as your child develops. A little bit about settings, sharing resources and using our apps in any language, which is one of the strongest points about our apps. They're so flexible. So Special iApps, we founded the organisation in 2011. So we've been developing apps for over 10 years. Me and my husband, Colin, founded the company as a social enterprise. So we are not a for-profit organisation, and it's all inspired by our younger son, William, who has Down syndrome and autism. Colin and I are both programmers, so we've taken our experience of writing software for organisations to actually create software for the Down syndrome community. So this is the rest of the team. We're based in the northeast of England and we create apps ourselves. We do not have any adverts or tracking, and there's no need to be online. And as I've said, we take our lived experience of supporting William and put that in the apps that we develop. So these are the countries that our apps are being used in. We've done this with the help of over 50 volunteers, and we're supporting children in over 25 languages. Our apps are used in nurseries and schools, as well as by professionals and parents. And they're not just for Down syndrome, they're perfect for autism and other disabilities. William is dual diagnosis and he is our lead tester. So you'll know our apps that you've been using for a little while, and you'll be familiar probably with our Special Words app. And we created Special Words in 2011, so that's 10 years old now. And then we created Special Stories, which is all about creating personalised reading books and social stories. Then in 2019, we added spelling and sentences to complete our range of apps to support literacy. One of the strengths with our apps is the ability to export resources from one app and import it into another. So you can take a word list and special words that you've created. Like if you went out to the zoo, you could take pictures of the animals, and you could support your child learning animal vocabulary by matching those with real pictures and their experience of the zoo. And you can import that into Special Stories and create a little book about going to the zoo with the animals. On the other hand, you could have actually created a special story originally and then imported in Special Words for word match and modified the text that you've got for each image. So new for 2021, things have slightly changed. We stepped back during the pandemic and thought about what we could do. And so we've totally refreshed our approach to developing apps, and we have got these new editions, which are plus editions. Special Words Plus is based on Special Words Pro, so this has now been removed from the app stores, and if you've got it, you won't be able to download it or update it anymore. Special Stories Plus is based on Special Stories, and you can still do a lot of the importing and exporting between our apps. So these apps remain on the App Store, but we will be removing them over the next year or so. So next year you'll see more of our Plus apps come on board, and you'll see the older native apps start to be withdrawn from the app stores. So what is the difference, you might ask? Well, we've taken a lot on board with the current situation, and also feedback about what people were asking for. Special Words Plus and Special Stories Plus can be used on laptops and desktops running Mac OS or Windows 10 or 11, and that is new for us because we traditionally just wrote apps that were available for tablets. So you can use them on a mix of devices, either an iPhone, Android phone, Android tablet, iPad, as well as Chromebooks, Macs and Windows devices. And just to give you a little bit more detail about what we mean by a progressive app, is that traditionally you would have downloaded special stories from the App Store to use on iPads, and if you were going to use Android devices you would have downloaded it from the Google Play Store. If you decided that you wanted to have a mix of devices, you had to buy it twice, and also if you switched devices you couldn't actually use the apps that you bought on one store on other devices. So there were limitations with native apps. The traditional website that you're familiar with runs on any computer and actually runs through a browser. So it's the browser that runs it. So you'll have different types of browser, whether it's a Safari or Microsoft Edge or whatever. What a progressive web app, it takes is both of those technology. So it runs in a browser, so you can use it on any platform, but it takes the functionality of a native app. So it's more than a website. It is actually an app running through a browser and you can install it on that. So I hope that makes it clear about what I mean by progressive web app. And this is what our Plus editions are. So basically, Special Words Plus is based on special stories. So when you look at it, it's got a lot of what you're familiar with, the matching activities, being able to personalize and create your own resources. And Special Stories Plus is the same. It's based on special stories. So you look at creating social stories. It's fantastic. I've been using this since 2011, and we have it for homeschool communication. So I've got lots of pictures about William developing, and we used it for reading books as well as supporting curriculum. So it's a fantastic app. So the Plus editions have a free trial because a lot of people would like to try it before they buy it. So we did actually introduce the 14 free trial, so you can actually try these apps before you take out a subscription. The most important thing about them is that they can be used on laptops and desktops, and they've got a lot of downloadable resources, which saves you time. I find working on a desktop a lot easier and quicker to create resources, and you can drag and drop files into the app. So you can drag your special words and special stories exported files into the apps, and you can also drag in sound files, and you can drag in image files. We've got over 200 downloadable word lists and curriculum resources, and this allows you to download them and use them as they are within the Plus editions, or you can modify them to personalize them for your child's learning experience. If you look at special words, you've got one word list with 96 words. What we've got with 200 is probably a vocabulary set of over 2,000, because each one is a word list, and special words, default word list has got 96 words in it. You can print the cards for assessment sheets as well, so you can go from paper into pen. You can print your books and you can print your assessments, and we've got a little bit more coming on assessments over the next few months, so that whole area will be evolving. And we also support remote keyboard control and remote learning. So for children who you might not be able to sit side by side with, if you were looking at virtual learning, which a lot of people have had to do over the year, that you can actually use Special Words Plus and Special Stories Plus remotely in a team session and support a child virtually. So it does give a lot more flexibility. If you can't actually be side by side with children, you can still support them and provide some intervention. So you'll be familiar with the traditional matching cards that we use with our children with Down syndrome. I mean, our visual learners, so seeing the picture, reading the word and hearing the voice. With the tech and with the app, you've got the audio in there, so you get the app actually matching what the children are doing. and that actually empowers them so they can achieve. We've done a lot with fine motor skills support, so that children with very, very poor fine motor skills can achieve and do a lot more than they would do if they were using paper and struggling to pick the paper up. Again, creating and printing personalised reading books. It's Special Stories is fantastic for doing that, and you can switch from paper and from the tech, and you can create just picture books without any text and print them and allow the children to write on them. And you can also create books which are at different levels, so you can have them at a 1-word level or a 2-word level, add in phrases or sentences. And initially, when children are little and need a lot of support, you're creating a lot of the resources for them. As they grow and they develop, you can look at supporting them and see how they can actually use the apps independently. We have got children who are now adults using Special Stories as an adult to create little talk and books about what they do and sharing that with families. So it's a very versatile app. So we always suggest that you mix and match paper resources, and you mix and match the tech, and you mix the matching activities with the reading resources and looking at including real objects. So this is just me using some of our downloadable resources that are under the sea. The apps, I just wanted to touch on how the apps are used in different languages, because we've had the help of our volunteers to translate into a number of languages, and we've localized for these set of languages. And that means that if you have your device in any of these languages, the buttons and the help and the text are in that language. The resources you can create can be in any language, and you can find out what languages we support on the device. So if you had your device set to be English, you'll see all the buttons in English, and if you had them set in French, you'll see the buttons in French, but the content varies depending upon what content you've put in. So again, creating personalised reading books, and I'm switching between both because you can actually support both in different ways. Special Stories is a blank book, and we've got a quick start guide that shows you how to create a story. We always suggest you collect your stories in collections, because you can create a lot of stories as time goes on. So with collections, I tend to group mine by time. So on my phone, I group them by month, and on William's iPad, I group his by term time and holiday time. And that's easier because then you can actually see what he is doing in a term or a half term. We've created a lot of different books depending upon what we were doing to support vocabulary, to support reading, and using real photographs. So it's all personalising, using real photographs of child experience to help them understand and comprehend the situation and learn the vocabulary that goes along with that. So you share your stories using an import and export, and you can save it to the cloud storage or to your file system if you're using it on your laptop. And we always suggest that you import and export your stories so that you can actually have some backups of them. Now, we never see anything that you've created and it doesn't come near our servers at all, so it's all on your local storage. A lot of people ask us about that in this day and age. We don't see anything that you've created. You control who you share it with and where that information has gone. And because you can create personalised stories, you might have something about personal care which might be sensitive, so you don't really want that going around anywhere. So we've got lots of user guides and how-tos, so you can visit our website, and if you've got any questions you can contact us. We've got some new Numicon resources, and this was the kind permission from Numicon, Oxford University Press. And what we've done is we haven't created a separate app. We've added Numicon resources in our existing apps, which means that you can actually match the activities and merge it in with your child's learning using a familiar app and a familiar way of learning to them. So we've got Numicon shapes, and we've currently got things that will count up to 30, and we've grouped them in ranges. So you can actually download the range that matches the learning of your child. We've got number bonds, and I had William here with special words plus, and it was set to 1 card matching. And then we're using the real Numicon shapes in a number line and asking him to match the number bond that he could see to make the number 10, because we're making number bonds to 10. And then he would press that, it would go on to the next number bond, and then you would repeat the exercise. So it's very visual, and it's using both the tech and the real objects to support him. We've got more coming in the coming weeks, more Numicon resources for our apps, and they're only available in the Plus editions. So we've got over 200 curriculum resources. They support early years curriculum as well as for older children. We've got colour, shapes, science, high frequency words. We have got them translated into Spanish and Italian, and we're phasing those translations out. And this is an area that we want to expand on to provide more educational curriculum resources in a variety of languages, which will actually save people time. So if anybody would like to help us with this, please get in touch. So the fairy tales, they're quite straightforward. You download them and you can actually use as they are straight from a download, or you can then go and edit and tweak them and modify what you've got. So as I've said before, our apps can be used in any language. This is an old resource that we had. We had World Down Syndrome socks, odd socks days, and we took the word socks in all the different language, and we had a little game where people had to guess which language it was. But it does show that you can have whatever language in our apps. If you run in the app in one of the languages that we support, the buttons that you can see here will come up in the language that you've got. This is Finnish, and it just shows that the buttons as well as the content is different. So you can actually select a different language for the content, or you basically, if you're creating your own resources, the language, whatever you're typing in and speaking, is the language it does. If you're not recording your voice, you will actually be picking up the synthetic voice, and it's important to actually set that. I'd just like to say a big thank you to our volunteers and students, because without those we wouldn't have been able to do all of the translations. And just to show you the localizations and the translations we have got, if there's anything missing that you would like to help with, please get in touch. So the settings of our apps are another important thing to play around with, and there's no harm in exploring this on your own device, just to understand how it works. There's a lot of settings to customize the app specifically for your child, and a lot of it is to do with the speed, how you play sound, because when you're playing sound before the matching, it's a bit of a giveaway. So you can change where the sound is being played. The text to speech, as I mentioned earlier, needs to be on if you're going to use a synthetic voice within the app. You can change the font. Our default is special letters. You can force a capitalization, and you can shuffle the cards. There's another setting that we've got in Special Words Plus, which is actually a loop. And that's a new thing, which means that you can loop around. So if you've only got 12 cards, you can switch looping on, so it would loop around all those 12 cards over and over again and help reinforce learning. So to select a language in the profile, if you had the default word list, you have the translations in each of these languages. If you're creating your own word list, it's worth checking that you're using the correct language that you want to use. This relates to the synthetic voice on the device, and obviously you can actually see that this is Special Words where the device is set in English, but you're using a Spanish resource. So it's very flexible, and you can just change the content of the pictures, the words, and the sound. If you want to re-record the sound, it's very easy to do. So again, a little bit more about text-to-speech, the synthetic voice on your device. They do vary from device to device. There's a lot that you can download and set up. You can play around with the speed on the device, and within our app you just make sure that you've got this button set on, and then that will pick it up. So personalised for learning. Our apps are fantastic for creating templates, and then you export them and you save them on your cloud storage to be able to share and edit later. So the first things that we suggest you do is put in personalised photographs, because children learn from what they see. If they've lived that experience, they can relate to it. And you can have these with one word. You can actually then change it to be a 2-word level, a phrase, or a sentence. So this is all, everything is up to you about what you put in to actually create this personalised learning for your own child. So you can create word lists. So some people think that there's only one word list, and if they add words, they might just add it to it. But you can actually create and manage your profiles and create a word list. You can have an empty start, or you can start from a default word list, or you can copy from an existing word list that you've created. So it does mean that you can actually have the word list as a 1-word level, copy it to another word list in Special Words Plus, and have the words changed to have them on a 2 large level. And remember, on a laptop, it's all dragging and dropping. It's very easy to drag things in instead of actually going through the steps of importing and exporting them by hand. So templates and special stories, you can actually base stories on existing stories, and you can copy a whole story. You can export a whole collection and import a whole collection, and you can copy pages from one story to another. So if you explore all of this, it will actually save you time. I created a resource once. It was like sort of 5 little ducks, and I just copied a lot of the repetitive quack 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 like sort of card that I'd created. So I would just put in the ones that were different, and then I would just copy. And you can also rearrange. So if you do copy, you can rearrange them to the right position, and you do that by moving these little things, these little bars here. So there is a facility to allow you to add titles and descriptions in Special Stories Plus, and this is the little I button here. And if you press that, it'll come up with the story details, and you can put a title. By default, we use the title of the first page, and you can also put some notes in there if you wanted to. So you can keep some information about the story that you've created. So a little bit about what we're doing in the future. We'll be doing more Plus apps. You'll see Special Numbers Plus come in, special sentences and special spelling will come as Plus along. We will have more downloadable resources. We've got some Makaton symbols coming out soon, and we'll have some more translated languages for the curriculum add-ons. So we continue to develop with collaboration with other people. So if anybody, whether they're a parent or an organisation, wishes to get in touch and work with us, please do just get in touch. And this is the information about how to get in touch with us. That's the end of my presentation. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour in 20 minutes. And thank you for listening to me.